Hi, it's Anna Mason, and in this video let's take a quick look at how I painted this sweet little Rose Periwinkle flower. I began with an outline drawing. I'd lightly marked the petal edges, the little centre and the tiny circle in the middle of it. Then, with watery paint mixes, I started my painting by mapping out the different colour areas, starting with the yellow centre. I made sure I left the white parts of the petals as the paper colour to keep them as light as possible. I went in next with the lightest, brightest pink colour I could see. I applied it all over the pink areas of petals, working in the direction of form so that any overlaps of paint would help to achieve the stripy visual texture. Where the pink colour transitions into the white part of the flower, I used the tip of my brush to feather my pink colour into the white. Once that was dry, it was time to be brave and go in with the darkest tones in the petals. Getting them in at this point in the process helped establish the tonal range. So with a dark pink mix in a thicker consistency, I applied it to the very darkest areas I could see. With that dry, I then worked along the tonal range, applying the next darkest tones to everywhere the same colour or darker. As I worked around the flower, I took care not to paint over the white areas. I paid really close attention to my reference photo, tuning in to where the colours in the petals appeared to change, adjusting my paint mix to be more pink or purple where I noticed these hue variations. The painting was looking very disjointed at this point, but as I continued to build up the layers of colour in the mid-tone areas, always ensuring the paint beneath was dry, the flower began to take on more form. Because tone is relative, I could now see that I wanted to darken the areas around my darkest tones, which didn't now look so dark once the midtones were in place. Using the tip of my brush and trying to keep a neat edge to the petals, I applied a layer of paint over the now dry darkest tones and worked it into the midtone areas. Next, I worked in the areas of lighter midtone, which had the effect of unifying the different colour areas in the petals. Having balanced the tones in the petals, I was at last able to add more details, starting with the transition between the pink and white areas, which I used the tip of my brush and a watery paint mix to work into with a feathering technique. And I could now paint the flower's little centre. First painting the dark little dot and then using a yellow mix for the area around it. I used the tip of my brush, leaving tiny gaps through to the pale yellow layer beneath. With a clean brush and a very watery grey mix, I then added the subtle shadow areas around the flower centre and on the edges of the white parts, making sure some parts stayed the white colour of the paper. These small markings had a disproportionate effect to the realism of the flower, pushing it forward off the paper. I used just water on my brush to soften the transition some more, and made tonal adjustments to areas I felt needed to be darker or have more visual texture. With my smallest brush, I neatened up the petal edges and went through a final round of tonal adjustments, flipping my painting and reference photo upside down to help me observe it objectively. I couldn't resist adding in some final details, and once I'd stopped noticing details I wanted to include, my painting was finished. A full video class of this flower is available now in my online school. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and then hop on over to annamasonart.com where you can take a full-length video class for free and find a whole heap of resources to help you pick up your brush and paint the way you've always wanted to. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon to help you create watercolours with wow.